this is Crypto Week, and we want to get into Facebook's coin, of course. But before we do that, could you give us a little bit of your background?
I launched Future Perfect Ventures, which is an early stage venture fund based in New York, focused on decentralized and blockchain technology. I launched it in 2014, back when Bitcoin was a dirty word. Before that, I actually invested out of Silicon Valley in the late 90s for Intel, and was an investment banker in media, telecom, and tech. So got to see the whole internet boom and bust from the belly of the beast out in the valley, and really was excited about what I saw with Bitcoin and decentralization and underlying blockchain technology. So I decided to launch a fund focused on that sector 6 years ago.
Wow. And so your fund focuses on different crypto businesses to invest in, or different crypto assets? How does that work?
So we invest primarily in equity in very early stage ventures. So we're usually part of the first $1 million into a company when they just have a few people and an idea, and we sit on the board sometimes and help them build out, introduce them to customers, and are an extended part of the team. We are also investing in the digital asset space in the second fund that we're investing out of, because we do believe that tokenization is going to take hold, and that's going to happen within the next 5 years. So we want the flexibility to invest across the spectrum in the very earliest stages in equity, and then as the companies mature, in the tokens that they may issue.
So talking about tokenization taking hold, what are your thoughts on Facebook's new crypto coin? I don't even know if it's fair to call it a crypto coin, because it isn't completely decentralized in many ways.
There's still a lot of details to be determined here on what is decentralized, what's centralized. What we do know as of now is that they've gotten a consortium of partners together, which includes some of their advertising partners, companies like Spotify, companies from the financial services sector like PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, which are very interesting because you could argue that they're competitors for payments, mindshare, and usage. But they've gathered together a group of companies to, I believe, make it look and appear to be not so centralized, that they're actually creating a new entity that all these consortium members will participate in and kind of govern this new currency, this Libra coin, as they're calling it as of now. And so Facebook will be just one of the nodes in that network. And eventually, I believe they want to get to 100 members in this network. They've all put in $10 million, committed to $10 million apiece. There are also some nonprofit partners, such as Women's World Banking. So they're very much looking to make this appear to be a really global effort focused on kind of banking the 1.7 billion people around the world that are currently unbanked. What I find it really interesting about this, too, is if you look at Facebook's financials, only 10% of their users come from the United States. 70% are in the emerging markets and developing markets. However, most of their revenue, almost 100% of their revenue, comes from advertising, and it's advertising from those in the developed markets. So they're under a lot of pressure if they want to keep growing to figure out a new business model. And we're seeing companies around the world want to get into the banking sector. I've been investing in fintech before it was called fintech in the mid-90s, late 90s. And controlling that spend or being able to participate in some of the fees is, I think, what they're looking as their next business model. It's very early days. It's going to take a long time to transition over to that. But I think that's very much what they're going for.
So Facebook has been facing a lot of scrutiny because of its data collection and also the amount of information it has on users, and also potentially the lack of regulation that it faces right now. Do you think them getting into this space they're able to do it because they're not becoming a bank in a way? Do you think that actually puts a lot more pressure on them in some way, or more scrutiny?
Well, I think the way they've structured this shows that they're very aware of the potential scrutiny around this, and why they focused on putting together this separate entity in Switzerland, which is a more neutral place. They also have more crypto-friendly regulations in Switzerland. That's where Ethereum was first launched under a foundation model, which is what Facebook is following.
And so this is basically an LLC that they created?
They created both an LLC, and the plan is to create a foundation, the Libra Foundation, where all of these consortium members will be members of that foundation. They've also created a separate LLC, which is going to actually run one of the nodes in this foundation, and they're actually going to create the wallet that the Facebook users will interact with. So if I want to send money through my Messenger app, I could do it through a third-party blockchain crypto wallet, or I can do it through Facebook's wallet. So that's where they're going to start collecting information on their users and go through the standard KYC process that banks actually require.
I'm curious to find out what you think this is going to do for the crypto space, but then also what this is going to do for the US dollar, in the sense that is this actually more of a competitor against the dollar than it is, let's say, against Bitcoin?
Well, I view all cryptos as eventually taking some mind share away from fiat. I've never been one of those people who believes that Bitcoin's going to take over the world. But if you give people alternatives in terms of transacting, and this could be governments or it could be the individual, there's going to be less reliance on the US dollar. So you're already seeing countries look at issuing their own sovereign digital currency. You're starting to see trade regions exploring that. And a lot of it, I think, is motivated by decreasing reliance on any one currency or any one standard, and right now it's really the US dollar. And so I do believe any alternatives in terms of payment are potentially a threat to fiat currency in general. I mean, we're moving towards cashless societies all over the world. If we look at what happened in China with WeChat, China had the most unbanked people in the world. Most of these unbanked people are in the developing markets. You look at India and Africa. Those countries have the youngest populations, the most people that are going to enter into the global GDP, and they don't have banks the way we know them. They don't have credit cards. So this is a prime time if you look at the macro perspective, and if you care about GDP growth, there need to be alternatives to the institutions we built in the 20th century. I don't think they're going away, but there's going to be more competition.
Do you see this potentially getting people more into other cryptocurrencies, or do you see this as a kind of walled off situation?
Well, I think the fact that I looked at my LinkedIn feed and there were so many people talking about it who have not commented on cryptocurrency or blockchain before, I think it's really captured the attention of people who haven't been in the space. And I think that's a good thing. At the end of the day, Facebook has over 2.5 billion users around the world. 70% of them are in these emerging markets, right? For crypto and blockchain technology to realize its full potential, we need to have broader awareness of better user interfaces. Right now, it's so challenging to go out and buy. I mean, Bitcoin's a little bit easier, but still, if you want to buy other cryptos, you have to go through a long process. If you want to hold your own keys and control those cryptocurrencies, you have to remember a long seed phrase. And so I view it very much as we're in 1995 internet, and I was lucky enough to be involved in those early days. And so the parallels are very obvious to me. And we didn't have the e-commerce, secure ways of buying things online. We didn't have the broadband connectivity that we have now. We didn't have the mobile connectivity, which has brought all these billions more people online around the world. And so we're kind of in that phase with crypto. And I can't think of a better way to kickstart awareness around what cryptocurrency is. And even if this is just a derivative or one form of it, making people more aware of what this technology can do. It can create faster payments rails, more seamless transfers. You can program it in a way that Facebook could offer discounts on advertising to their partners. And there's so many new business models that can be created out of crypto and blockchain technology, and I don't think we've even started tapping into near the potential because we're not seeing the usage yet.
Do you see any potential risks from Facebook getting into this space? Is there a fallout of maybe they don't do it right and there is a lot of scrutiny, and then that maybe pushes people to stay away from other cryptocurrencies for a while?
That's quite possible. I think we already are a little bit skeptical about Facebook and the way they handle user privacy and data. And so I take a contrarian approach to this, where I want to see them try this and kind of have people ask those questions about privacy, about they're writing their own smart contract language. Why are they doing that? How's the governance going to work on validating the transactions? How are the partners, what data are the partners going to see, if any? With Facebook's own wallet, if people are using that to transact, what data will Facebook actually control? They've said they'll allow it will be an opt-in structure, which is very much against what they've done before, which is you have to opt out. Most people don't opt out of things because they don't read the privacy. So I hope people kind of hold them to what they're saying and take a look under the hood as we get more and more details around all these pieces. But I think it can educate a broader swath of the population on what this can do, and we will have discussions on privacy around all of this.
Do you envision a future where different companies have their own coins? We have a SoftBank coin and a Twitter coin and different things, or do you see it as being a very limited space for companies to get into this area?
Well, I mean, in some ways, we've had coins in the form of like loyalty points, and it's just we haven't really been able to use them outside of a company's four walls. And what will be very interesting to see with this Facebook announcement is how are their partners going to get engaged. So they've said you can potentially use these Libra coins at a retailer or on another site, and so it's that interoperable piece, and then how are you going to cash out on that if you want to cash out on fiat, and so I think this consortium idea and getting some of these folks involved, it's the first time we're also seeing something go beyond just the four walls of a company and see what they can do with partners. I think we're still in very early days there. But there's a lot of potential. I just hope they're able to execute on it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see as they finally work all the details out. All right, Jelek, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks to Mark, Yin, and Jelek for sharing their insights with us. It was especially interesting finding out where they see the biggest opportunities for growth coming from in the crypto space, whether it be from investment in Asia or increasing interest from institutions, or potentially the vast user base of Facebook's coin. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing the different perspectives. For Real Vision, I'm Justine Underhill.